and welcome everyone. It's Kim. Today I'm going to work on my little Wardian case, my greenhouse. I want to show you why I didn't paint it.
Now I'm just looking for an opinion from you all. I have these two older planters. I use them sort of as an indoor either succulent or regular tender plants terrariums. Now they are getting old and they have a lot of rust on them and are showing signs of age. This little top comes down. You can see where the paint, either because it's chipped or peeled right there, it's coming off in sheets. But overall, the appearance isn't horrible. It still has a nice look to it. And I want your opinion whether or not you think I should go ahead and, completely try to refurbish it by repainting, or should I just keep that patina of age and go ahead and plant it? And then I have the second one, and it is kind of a white finish on it. It doesn't look too bad as far as rust, but it's a little, I think it's kind of some kind of plastic on there. I set a plant in there, but you can see how shaded it is. They have deteriorated in the light and the sunlight and everything until you really can't see through it very well. This particular one does not have a bottom. I would have to put a bottom on it. I've always just used it on a box or a liner of some kind. But I want your opinion. Leave them as is, going ahead to show their age, except for this one where I need to replace the glass panels. Or should I try to strip and repaint them? Just looking for opinions. I'm leaning towards keeping them as they are, but let me know what you think.
Now, in order to make those panels that I needed to create for the little greenhouse, I went to the building materials aisle in Lowe's, and it took me a while. There's not much over there, but for whatever reason, I had to look and look and look to figure out what it was I wanted. But I found acrylic sheets of all different sizes and a special cutting tool, which I later returned because the cutting tool is just basically an X-Acto knife. I paid $13.48 for a sheet that I don't correctly remember the measurements. I think it was like about, what was that, 18 inches by 24 inches, and that worked out to be just enough for my small little greenhouse or Wardian case. Now, depending on the measurements of your greenhouse or whatever kind of a particle that you're going to use, you may need a different size. Just kind of plot out the measurements and then decide on what you would need. But that worked for me, and I went through checkout, and since I was at Lowe's, they give the 10% discount to military and veterans any day, anytime. So if you shop there and you're a veteran, just be sure to use your discount. Nowadays they require your card. You have to show your card at the register. I don't know if they had people abuse it, but that's what we did. Now let's cut out the panels. Now, of course, my husband didn't think I could use the X-Acto knife. He thought I would cut my fingers off, and he may or may not have been correct. I'm not known for my grace around knives and sharp objects, but basically all you have to do is kind of mark it and score it where you want the cut to be. So he did that. He used, I'm not sure what those instruments are called, a square, just kind of a long steel ruler, but he was able to mark out the lines easily that way and have something to press against. And he used some clamps to clamp it down to this table that I use in the garden room, so it didn't matter if it got chopped up or scarred up or anything. I don't mind. So what you do is just kind of score it several times with an X-Acto knife. Just score it, score it, score it, and then you pull it over to like the edge and just kind of give it a sharp pop, and that kind of breaks that acrylic. And the acrylic itself is covered with this fine film, not really tape, it's something that'll peel off later, but you can peel that off. And so we just matched the sizes of the panels that I'd pulled out. They pull out from that little greenhouse. You kind of use a screwdriver to unpry those little clamps and pull the panel out. Then you can get some correct measurements to just lay down across there, or even use it to score. Now, the way my little greenhouse was made, it kind of had the framework overlapped the edges, so if you didn't get a clean, clear cut when you did that, it didn't matter because it was kind of hidden on the edges. But for the most part, all of these edges came out real nice and clear. Now that's kind of a close-up of the little clamp edges that hold it in that you can see. And they're a pretty stiff metal framework, that whatever this is made out of. I guess that's aluminum, but they were pretty stiff and hard to pry open, but I just used a screwdriver. But you can see that yellow panel that's in there. They're so sun damaged and everything, so we definitely did need new. Look at the difference in the clear, even with that film still over it. But it was just real easy. You basically have two panels each. Each side is the same side, of course, and then each peak of the roof is the same side, and then each size, I should say, and then each end is the same size. So you're just cutting 2 pieces for the sides, 2 pieces for the ends, 2 pieces for the roof that are all the same size. And then toward the end of the little gabled roof, there were triangles in that section, and we cut those out also. But as I'll show you later in the film, I decided not to replace that edge. I'm going to leave that open. But these panels are a little bit bendable, so when you have any difficulty putting them in those edges, they kind of have a little bit of a give to them, so when you try to press them up into those corners and edges, you can bend them a little bit to easily clamp up into those edges. You just have to be careful. Now, my husband won't wear gloves or anything. I would recommend wearing some kind of a glove in case you get pinched, or the edges of some of that acrylic should be rough and hurt you. Now, this particular, I don't even know if you would correctly call this a Wardian case, since it doesn't have a bottom. I don't know if it originally came with a bottom, but it's more of a cloche style. It has a handle on top and then sets down. Now, since I picked this up, if I'm recalling correctly, at a garage sale, Master Gardener's garage sale, it may or may not originally have had the under container, but when I got it, it did not. And so what I've always used is just a little container of some kind to put under there, plastic or whatever. Now, in today's instance, as I'll show you in the next video, I did buy a little small box shape from IKEA that I can use as my planter for this to fit over it. So I hope you'll subscribe and stick around for the next video. that possibly will be coming out as early as tomorrow if I can get that all edited and ready. But I've got it planted and it looks really awesome. This particular little greenhouse will have succulents in it. So I've got a little collection of succulents to add, but that'll be in the next video. Now this is where you can see the bending of the acrylic so it will easily fit in under those clamps. And I've slightly speeded up the film so that this video wouldn't last for an hour. But it clamps right down and holds tightly. Once you get it down in there, you can use your fingers or a screwdriver to press the clamp down again against the panel. But it holds very, very securely, I think. Now, I'd say it's a huge improvement, this new clean acrylic panels for my little greenhouse. Because as you saw in the first part of the video, you could hardly see through, much less let the sunlight get through. If I was interested in some kind of a shade greenhouse, that might work, but it wouldn't be any advantage when you can't even see the plants through it. Now this little greenhouse isn't really too huge. It is quite tall, so I'm thinking I may try to root some of my jade plant clippings where I trimmed my jade plant. But I can get some pretty tall clippings in here along with my other little plants that I'm planting. And I'm planning to kind of fill it a little bit, maybe too much, but I think it'll look cute with a lot of plants in there. I think that's the final end that we're getting put in there. And you can only see that the acrylic panels by the glare of the lights because they are so clear. I really love the little case now that you can actually see through the edges. Now I want to show you what it looks like. Looks very nice. All I really have to do is clean up all the fingerprints and the little hangers-on things that I don't want to stick to it. But it's all ready now to be transplanted. So I'm really anxious to see how that's going to look. And now you can see the plant in there, unlike at the beginning of the video. Okay, now the greenhouse, the little Wardian case, does have an opening here, which was covered by this little triangle piece. This is the old one that we removed. I'm going to leave that open for ventilation because I'm not sure if it will be well ventilated enough when I'm putting real plants in there. I'm not sure if you're just displaying it for something other than real plants, it might be fine, or for something that needs enclosed in humidity. But we have cut out the triangles for that side in case we changed our mind and do want to put those in. So I've got two ends cut out and ready if we need those. But at this point in time, I've got the walls here, but no wall there, and no wall in this opposite end either. Just the walls here and here. They're so clear and clean now, you can hardly tell they're there, but they're there. But ventilation right now. Now that sheet that I had, it just barely worked out to be enough. This is all the rest of the chips and discards that we had. So that particular sheet
worked out to be just right. But I'd say it was cutting it pretty close.